quick content note before we start. This case involves homicide, missing persons, and exploitation. I am keeping this non-graphic and victim first, and I will separate what is confirmed from what prosecutors allege. There is a road on Long Island that looks so ordinary it almost feels insulting. Ocean Parkway, a thin line of asphalt between water and brush. In daylight, it's beach traffic and open sky. At night, it's wind, darkness, and a shoulder of scrubland that can hide more than you think. The most unsettling part of Gilgo is not some cinematic evil lair. It's the opposite. It's the idea that something horrific could sit just a few steps off a public road while cars kept passing, seasons kept changing, and nobody would know they were driving beside a grave. This story doesn't start with a serial killer label. It starts the way so many nightmares start, with one person missing and people trying to reconstruct a night that moved too fast and left too few reliable footprints. In May 2010, Shannon Gilbert disappeared after a night in Oak Beach. There is recorded evidence she contacted emergency services. Police have said they believe her death was not a homicide and not connected to the Gilgo murders, and her family has publicly disagreed for years. That disagreement is part of the case's gravity, because it means even the spark that lit the search carries unresolved pain. Her disappearance triggered search activity that pushed investigators into the terrain where other victims were found. The search opened a door nobody expected to exist. By December 2010, officers and a K-9 team were searching along Ocean Parkway near Gilgo Beach. In brush that most drivers never enter, the dogs signaled human remains were found. In most investigations, that would be the end of the search and the beginning of one case. Here, it was the beginning of many, because when they kept looking, they found more. Over the following days, additional remains were located close by. 4 young women found in the same general stretch. The public later called them the Gilgo Four. But the names matter more than the nickname. Melissa Barthélemy, Megan Waterman, Amber Lynn Costello, Maureen Brainerd Barnes. Those are 4 separate lives, 4 separate circles of people who were waiting for a call that never came. And for years, those families watched the world learn a label while still not having justice. The Gilgo Four disappeared between 2007 and 2010. Investigators later alleged patterns in how these women were contacted and lured. But you don't need to sensationalize that to tell the truth. The truth is already horrifying. People disappeared, and their absence sat unresolved long enough for brush to become a hiding place. In early 2011, as the search expanded, additional remains were discovered along the same parkway and nearby areas. Some were partial remains. Some belonged to victims who would not be identified for years. Others were linked to earlier discoveries in different parts of Long Island. This is one reason Gilgo always felt like a knot instead of a straight line, because the coastline became associated with multiple sets of remains spanning different years, and in some instances connecting to other locations, like Manorville, where remains linked to some victims had been found years earlier. And that creates a grim, practical question investigators had to face. Were these all connected? Was this one offender? Multiple offenders? A shared dumping corridor? A coincidence created by geography? The public tends to demand one clean answer. Real cases rarely cooperate. Years passed, leads were rumored, then collapsed. Attention surged, then faded. And the same stretch of coastline kept sitting there, unchanged, as if it was daring anyone to look again. When a case stalls, the internet fills the silence. Rumors multiply. People start naming suspects like it's sport. That's not justice. It's noise. And in cases like this, noise is not harmless. It can harm families, contaminate tips, and turn victims into characters instead of people. The next major turning point is not a dramatic confession. It's bureaucracy done correctly. In February 2022, Suffolk County District Attorney Ray Tierney formed a new multi-agency Gilgo Beach homicide task force that matters because it signals a reset, a willingness to rework assumptions and use modern tools. According to the District Attorney's Office, by March 2022, the task force had developed a suspect And then they worked for roughly 16 months building the case. 16 months, that is not a rush job. That's surveillance analysis, re-interviewing, data review, and the slow assembly of something that can survive court. In July 2023, Rex Ahoyerman, an architect from Massapequa Park, was indicted and arrested. He was initially charged in connection with murders tied to the Gilgo 4. He has pleaded not guilty. From that point on, the story becomes courtroom-shaped because allegations are not verdicts. Prosecutors have described a case built from multiple strands: forensic work, including DNA and hair analysis, digital evidence, and phone record analysis. The defense challenges the strength and interpretation of these links. That is the legal battlefield. In June 2024, prosecutors added 2 more murder charges: Jessica Taylor and Sandra Castilla. This was one of the biggest moments in the modern arc because it expanded the alleged timeline back to 1993. Suddenly, the public had to consider a much longer alleged span. In December 2024, prosecutors added a 7th murder charge: Valerie Mack. He pleaded not guilty to all of them. 7. And if you say that number too quickly, it becomes abstract. So say the names cleanly and with respect: Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, Amber Lynn Costello, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Jessica Taylor, Sandra Castilla, Valerie Mack. Those are the victims named in the charges. Each name is a person, not a plot point. At the same time, the broader Gilgo story involves additional remains found in the wider search area over the years. Some have been identified long after discovery. Others have remained unidentified. That's important because even a conviction in the charged case would not automatically close every question the coastline holds. People ask, why would someone choose that spot? A location can be effective because it is overlooked, because it is consistent, because it is easy to access, and because people assume the brush is empty. There have also been reports about prosecutors alleging a planning document and other disturbing materials. The defense disputes relevance and challenges admissibility. That is the fight the judge and jury will ultimately weigh. This case is not finished. The defendant has pleaded not guilty. The evidence has not been fully tested in front of a jury. Until it is, the public only has the outline, not the full picture. In January 2026, a judge stated the trial would begin right after Labor Day. That's the first true horizon the public can hold on to. Because for years, Gilgo felt like it lived in an endless present, always discussed, never concluded. Think about what that means emotionally. Families have already waited through years of silence. Now they wait through the slow machinery of the court. Hearings, motions, expert testimony, justice, even when it comes, often arrives cold. The accused has not been tried and convicted. Second, the broader set of remains linked to the area extends beyond the charged case. Even a verdict will not neatly close every door. Even if the court finds guilt, people will still ask how this could have gone on for so long. That question is partly about policing, partly about siloed cases, and partly about stigma. Families and advocates have argued stigma mattered in how urgency was applied. That is not sensational. It is a sober observation repeated in many missing person cases. What has to change so missing people are treated with urgency, no matter who they are or what their life looked like? What has to change so separate cases are not trapped in separate boxes for years? Because Gilgo is not only one alleged offender's story, it is also a system's story. This is where we are: 7 murder charges, a not guilty plea, a case moving toward trial after Labor Day 2026, a coastline that has already taken too much, and families still living inside a calendar they did not choose. I will say the names one last time: Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, Amber Lynn Costello, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Jessica Taylor, Sandra Castilla, Valerie Mack. Remember that what was stolen here was not only life, it was time, safety, and certainty for everyone who loved them. If you want to leave something meaningful in the comments, don't leave a theory, leave a name, or leave a sentence of respect. Cases like this do not need more noise. They need memory, accuracy, and humanity. Ocean Parkway will still be there tomorrow. Wind will still move. The grass, cars will still pass. That is the final cold truth. The world does not change its face to match what happened in it. The only thing that pushes back against that indifference is persistence, evidence, and people refusing to forget. Thank you for listening.